to come up.
Noreen, Sean, you want? I think. You did make the burdock shiitake good. It's vegan. All right, thank you everyone for coming. It's an honor to have you all here. By a show of hands, how many people interested here in losing weight? Okay. How many people interested in improving their health? And how many people interested in improving their relationship to food and eating? Wow, quite a few. Okay. Let's get in. So, why lose weight? Improve self-esteem. This was my personal reason. This was a huge reason for me, and part of why I'm passionate to be up here to speak and alleviate so much of the suffering that was caused by my negative body image and my low self-esteem around my body and my anxieties with food and eating. Improve health and improve relationship to food. Does anyone have another reason why they want to lose weight that I didn't cover? No? Okay. What's that?
Like sugar,
Blood pressure, other kind of health, okay. Okay, why we are overweight. Part of my passion is I feel like there's this ethos in our culture, that there's this societal narrative around why people are overweight and how you can lose weight. And that's simple, just eat less and move more. They want to say it's a simple equation. It's a simple equation, calories in, calories out. All right, have you all heard this before? Okay, so the idea is that if we're overweight, we're eating too much, we're not moving enough. Basically, we have lack of willpower or motivation to change. Can y'all relate? By a show of hands, can y'all relate to this? Okay. Fat shaming. Are y'all familiar with the idea of fat shaming? So it's making overweight people feel ashamed of their weight or eating habits. And the idea is that if we shame people enough, they're going to want to be motivated to change. And I personally, shame isn't a good motivator for me, but I internalized a lot of fat shame. Fat shaming affects women substantially more so than men in our culture. So I can't even imagine what women face with just this whole unrealistic expectations of beauty and this so much assault on women's self-esteem. Right? So fat shaming in schools, that's a huge part of bullying. And many experience, unfortunately, fat shaming from their close family or friends, a grandma or auntie or their mom are making them feel insecure about their body or their weight. Okay, but dieting doesn't work. Calories in, calories out. If it was a simple equation, why then would 95% of diets fail? How many people here have been on a diet at some point in the past? Okay. So you know that if anything, it's a temporary solution. 62% of Americans overweight or obese, and childhood obesity has tripled in the last 30 years since America officially did its war on obesity. And is it any surprise that record profits for the food, healthcare, and diet industry? One statistic, $315 billion this year for the diet industry. Has anyone heard of Slim Fast? Okay, so isn't that great marketing? It's a food that you have to keep buying to keep losing weight. And I found out that the company that owns Slim Fast is a Unilever, the company that owns Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's. And then the company that owns Jenny Craig, which is like a Weight Watchers kind of thing, is Nestle. Okay? So, but I feel like there's a lot of additional factors that go into why people are overweight. Obviously, health is such a complex, multifaceted issue, but there's environmental, socioeconomic factors. Stress is a huge factor. Chemical stress, emotional, physical stress, genetics, our gut health, hormonal factors, chemical addiction, so these food additives and addictive chemical substances in the food, and then public confusion. But do you think all these industries are benefiting, are profiting off the confusion people have around what to eat? Okay, so I posted this question. I belong to a group on Facebook. It's called the Weight Loss Support Group. And it has several tens of thousands of members, and it's for people to post about their experiences of weight loss. So I posted this question on the forum there. What's the worst part about struggling to lose weight? So these are some actual answers. The fear that I'll never actually lose the weight, and try as I might, I'll just always be like this. That was a huge fear for me because I had my self-worth completely tied up with my body image. And so there was no way that I was ever going to actually be worthy of the love I felt like I deserved or I wanted if I couldn't have a six-pack and be lean and be trim. Having to think about anything else when you need all your mental energy to stop yourself from going to the vending machine at work. Does anyone experience where they're almost in dialogue with themselves about should or shouldn't, or worrying about where they're going to eat, what they're going to eat? Okay, so for me, that took up a lot of my mental bandwidth, and I wanted to do more in the world, but felt like I couldn't get past just basics about what to eat and how to feel good. So watching others around me eat horrible, and they weigh 100 pounds soaking wet, I'm sitting here with my carrots and I'm overweight. So that was a huge problem for me, is comparing myself to other people. What emotions do you feel when you look at yourself naked in the mirror? Does anyone want to share? And again, if we can all agree, this can be a confidential container here because we're talking about very personal issues. So increase our self-esteem around our body image. But I know a lot of people are not comfortable. For me, just waking up in the morning, walking past the mirror in the vanity in my bathroom in the morning, I see my body and already not be disgusted with what I saw. And already now I'm flooded with thought, self-limiting, self-deprecating thoughts and uncomfortable emotions my whole day. I'm just trying to fight to get out of this feeling, just from my own reflections in the mirror.
You mean when you were overweight?
No, so I was never like super overweight. It was just all about my own body image and my own relationship to my body and to food. So, and I think with fat shaming and the message that I got from the media around masculinity and needing to be like super muscular and super lean or have big arms in order to be worthy of attention from females or whatever it is, I really internalized a lot of those messages. So, but a lot of themselves feeling sickened by the sight of themselves naked. And this is something that breaks my heart because I feel like it's something so fundamental for us to appreciate what we see in our reflection in our bodies and feel good about our bodies. I feel that it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter politically what's going on if a lot of us are feeling so crippled by our negative self-image. So emotional and binge eating disorder or overeating. Eating is a way to suppress or soothe uncomfortable emotions. So by show of hands, does anyone ever use food as a way to soothe or suppress uncomfortable emotions or stress? Okay. So the idea is, so stress eating, it can be a lack of control. For me, I never experienced blackouts with alcohol, but I experienced like my own little mini versions of blackouts with eating, where the whole bag of cookies or chips would be gone, and I didn't actually remember the whole experience of eating them. And then feeling guilty or shame. Because a lot of times if we're battling ourselves, if we tell ourselves, I don't want to eat this, and then we go on and eat it, there's a sense of betrayal. And I feel like that can, a lot of the shame and guilt that we internalize. So does what you eat or weigh interfere with your happiness? And according to one analysis or study, up to 80% of our thoughts that we have on the day-to-day are negative. And up to 95% of those thoughts are repeating themselves day after day. Can anyone relate to feeling like they're having the same self-limiting thoughts over and over again?
Yes.
I did. Okay. So for me, this was over decades. It creates some kind of like a self-induced hypnotic state. All right, so what are the solutions? Whole plant foods and starches. And I also strongly believe in a new self-image, beliefs in self. So it's like the thoughts are the foods that we consume. And lifestyle habits. Again, 95% of diets don't work. Why? Because they don't last long. It's one thing to go in and lose a bunch of weight for a wedding or class reunion, but if it's not sustainable, if it doesn't work into our lifestyle, it's not going to stick. So trusting our appetite, intuitive eating. For me, this is kind of like the end goal of what we want out of our diet, in the sense of the guidelines that govern the foods that we want to eat and our relationship to food. Got to be delicious. It's got to be delicious. Nourishing. We have to feel good when we eat it. Convenient. We do not want to be running around all over town for different purveyors, trying to source different food, having to invest in tons of new equipment, spending hours in the kitchen. No. Affordable. Supplements is going to be very expensive. Fresh produce, I was spending upwards of $900 to $1,000 a month trying to consume so much fresh produce and fruit. So it's got to be affordable. We have to feel full. I don't believe that we're supposed to walk around feeling hungry. I don't believe that we're meant to feel unfulfilled on such a fundamental physical level of like our tummies, our stomach. It's nice to look at food and be like, no, I'm done. And so again, not thinking about food all the time, and it doesn't trigger guilt or binge or emotional overeating. So I want to talk about, so there's a basic concept here of calorie density. So the stomach stretch reflex, this is crucial for us feeling full. Again, I believe it's fundamental that we feel full. There are receptors on the outside of our stomach that in order for our brain to get the message that we're done eating, our stomach needs to physically expand and touch upon these stomach stretch reflex receptors. So let's look, we have on one end of the spectrum, this is what 500 calories of food looks like in a hypothetical tummy over here. So on one side, we have whole fruits and vegetables. Look at that, completely overfilling the tummy. Rice and beans, starches, these are complex carbohydrates, these are starches, rice, beans, potatoes. As we move further down the line, cheese is extremely high in fat, and oil is 100% calories from fat. So we have oil, which is a highly refined food. I'm going to get into that. But ultimately, look at the idea of calorie density. 500 calories of oil is barely going to do anything to expand your stomach, to help you feel full. On the other hand, look at fruits and vegetables over there. And that's why it's almost impossible to overeat on whole fruits and vegetables. Because you're physically full. You're physically at capacity before you're going to overeat the amount of calories that you need. Is this making sense to everybody here? Yes. Okay, so move along. So let's just look at a calorie density scale. 1 cup of steamed broccoli, 31 calories. 1 banana, 100. 1 boiled russet potato. That's like a medium-sized russet potato, boiled or baked or steamed. 1 cup of rice and beans, approximate, of course, 216 calories. Now we're going to jump up 1 slice of Costco pizza, 800. Okay, 1 cup of almond butter. Now again, almonds, they're plant food, right? They're plant food, they're vegan, they're health food, right? But 1 cup of almond butter, over 1,500 calories. Because, certain people certainly eat a half a cup in a smoothie. Certainly if they're going to have a smoothie in the morning with a 1/4 cup and they're going to put it on celery or apple slices, you can easily have another quarter cup. If you're going to have like a packaged food like a Cliff Bar or something like that that has almond butter or nut butter in it. And again, I can talk a little bit about the macronutrients ratios later, but the idea is nuts are still extremely high in fat. And 1 cup of oil, 1,900 calories. So to put it in perspective, just 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which is the standard, was contained in the standard serving of salad dressing, is over 200 calories. So just your salad dressing is more than 1 whole russet potato. So that's the idea of calorie density versus calorie diluteness. So let's keep going. So why are complex carbohydrates so beneficial? It's the primary energy for humans. Right now, the Kauai Marathon is going on, or just finished. Do you think the night before it's a pasta dinner? They don't give marathon runners a huge plate of spinach. right? Remember, it was Eat Your Wheaties. The box of Wheaties had the athletes and the Olympic gold medalists on the cover. Whole grains. This is a primary fuel source for energy for humans, is complex carbohydrates. Okay, it's a different type of sugar. The sugar in a yam, the sugar in a sweet potato is a different type of sugar that's found in processed packaged junk foods. All right, so it's comforting and delicious. When you bite into that yam, you feel good. That's why it's called comfort foods. It's designed that way. Rich in fiber. Fiber is a bulking agent, so it physically is going to fill us up. Whole food is a whole food. It's calorie dilute. You can eat a lot of it. Slow burning energy, which is the kind of energy we like. We don't like those spikes in energy. We want a slow, even keeled energy throughout the day. It's naturally low in fat. It improves gut health. That's prebiotics. And again, each one of these is like, its own topic, but affordable and convenient. So going to the grocery store and dry grains and dry beans in bulk or big bag of russet potato are some of the cheapest forms of calories that you can get. And right now, rice already accounts for 50% of the calories in the worldwide. It's already feeding 50% of the people. All right, so complex carbohydrates, the starches. We all know these foods: potatoes, yam, sweet potato, rice, oats and grain, beans, locally taro and breadfruit, corn, winter squashes, pumpkin, also plantains. So I think we all have a general sense of starchy, complex carbohydrates. Why are fruits and vegetables so important? Again, they're a whole food. They're calorie dilute. They're extremely calorie dilute. Anyone go to those big 1 pound plastic tubs of baby spinach or mixed green lettuce you can get at Safeway? There's 7 or 8, and Costco like 2 to 4. So there's only 100 calories in that whole package. So extremely calorie dilute. So it's going to help to keep you full. It's low in fat, also rich in fiber. Fruits are deliciously sweet. And then fruits and vegetables are rich in vitamins and minerals. All right, fat from plants and animals. Right, because there's fatty plant foods, coconut meat, avocado, nuts, olives. But certainly eggs, cheese, meat and dairy has a lot of fat. It's calorie dense. There's no fiber at all, so that's not going to at all help your stomach expand and help you feel full. It easily stores as fat. So the body is really efficient at storing fat that we eat. It's difficult for us to use as energy. It can contribute to digestive problems, and it's highly addictive.
So why do you count avocado in there?
Because avocado, if you look at the proportions of calories that come from fat in avocado, it's a high-fat food. It's nutritious in the sense it's a whole food, but ultimately, people can easily overeat on avocados. A serving of an avocado, when you're talking about what's considered a low-fat plant-based diet, is no more than 15% of your daily calories coming from fat. So if you consume a whole avocado every day in addition to other foods and nuts and all these other high-fat foods, you're easily over your 15%. So it has to do with the ratio of fat. So that's why we focus on low-fat, complex carbohydrates and low-fat fruits and vegetables. Okay, oils from plants. So this is all oils, and a lot of people miss this. This is coconut. It doesn't matter whether it's truffle oil, grapeseed oil, canola oil. It doesn't matter where you pull your oil from. All oil. So for example, 20 to 40 olives to make 1 tablespoon of olive oil. So in going back to the stomach stretch reflex chart, what do you think is going to fill you up? 20 to 40 olives or 1 tablespoon of olive oil? No brainer, right? So the idea is oil is not a whole food. When you extract the oil from the olive, for example, you're taking out all the other parts of the olive, the fiber, the water, the other nutrients. So the body is handling this concentrated form of fat. There's no fiber at all. It's not a whole food. Again, all coming from fat, and it's minimal nutrients. So one of the definitions of junk food is empty calories, right? Food that it's calories, there's calories in it, but it doesn't give us anything. Basically, what I'm saying is oil is a junk food, and it easily triggers overeating. Okay, without fiber, fiber is part of what helps the food break down slowly and absorb into the bloodstream to create the even keel energy. All right, junk and processed food. So those are refined foods. There's a lot of packaged foods, candies, snack items, and things. So not only do we have the stomach stretch reflex, but the sensory-specific fullness reflex. So the idea is that naturally whole foods are going to stimulate our taste buds in a way that's going to say we're done eating. But you're going to bet that the food industry and food scientists have created a way to bypass that chemically with food additives and refined foods and all the things they're going to do to make us want to eat more and make us not feel full from all this processed food that we're eating. Question?
Are you saying not all carbs are good?
Exactly. Because, well, here, I'm going to get into that. But if you think about what I'll get into. I'm going to come back to that. And I'm going to get into that. So yeah, I'm going to come back to that. But look at chemicals. When we talked about stress as one factor in weight gain. Look at all these. This is all the chemical stressors in animal foods. So 70%, and this is from the USDA, 70% of food poisoning is caused by contaminated animal foods. All right? So there's E. coli, all this bacteria, antibiotics containing arsenic, synthetic hormones, dioxins, so those are environmental toxins that the animals eat that accumulate in the animal, and then we eat the animal, making it much more harmful. Pesticides, chlorine, ammonia, carbon monoxide, mercury and PCB, so we eat fish, not only the heavy metals, but also the microplastics, and poop and pus. Yes. It's true. We don't want to acknowledge it, but it's true. Okay, so it's not the sugar, it's the fat. How many people say they want to cut out sugar from their diet, and you ask them what they want to cut out? What do they say? Cookies. And this is going to speak to with your question. So fat is over twice the amount of calories per gram as protein and carbohydrates. So when you look at a chocolate chip cookie, again, I just pulled this on the internet, so it's kind of just generic nutritional information, but 78 calories for one chocolate chip cookie. 4.5 grams of fat. Now, 9 grams of carbohydrates, but fat is 9 calories per gram and carbohydrates are only 4. So when you do the math, you actually more calories coming from fat than from the sugar. Does that make sense? 40.5 calories are coming from fat and only 36 are coming from the sugar. So that's 10% more. Does that make sense? Let's get into the ice cream. Here's a serving of Ben & Jerry's. Okay, because people ask the time, oh, I'm addicted to sugar, I'm addicted to sugar. I can't stop eating the ice cream. We think of cookies and cakes and ice cream as sugar and not as fat when significantly more of the calories are coming from fat. Again, look, 21 grams of fat times 9 calories per gram. That's 189 versus 112 calories coming from sugar. Over 50% more. So why don't people say, I want to quit fat? I'm addicted to fat. I can't cut out the cakes and the cookies and the ice cream. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. But wait, stop. Benjamin, stop what you're saying. You can't be saying carbs are good. You can't be saying that I can lose weight on carbs. What about ketosis? What about the ketogenic diet? I have to avoid corn. My naturopath told me I can't eat rice. My alternative holistic healer told me I can't eat grains and beans. But like I said, if you look at traditional diets around the world, the classic joke is if carbs make you fat, then I guess 1 billion people in Asia didn't get the memo. Traditional diets around the world, I mean, a lot has changed in the last 100 or 150 years in what we think of as traditional diets in places. But the idea is in rural areas around the world, whether it's Africa, the Middle East, Central or South America, people that are eating upwards of 80% or more of their calories are coming from starches. And they did not have the cancers, the heart disease, the diabetes, or the problems of obesity that we have. These are diseases of affluence. The countries like America, the UK, Australia that are consuming the most meat and dairy are the ones that are dealing with the highest incidences of these cancers and diabetes and heart disease. All right.
So, back on that, you're
This is a ketogenic food pyramid.
Oh, okay, so you're not saying this.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. And so I was just pulling it up because I know a lot of people, because the ketosis is a very popular thing now, and a lot of people are avoiding carbs, and so I just wanted to speak to that.
Okay.
And just, yeah. So some of the doctors' organization that I follow is Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Over 12,000 physicians on board recommending that 3/4 of your daily calories should come from carbohydrates. And this is all based on science. Studies showing that those who eat the most carbohydrates, especially those found in whole natural foods like beans, whole grain, fruits, and vegetables. And again, starchy vegetables like tubers and winter squashes are considered starchy vegetables with a lower risk of all the major diseases. So again, I'm not saying that you're going to keel over and die if you eat animal foods, but the idea is risk prevention. And there's a strong correlation between how much plant-based we're eating, whole food plant-based, and our prevention on all these major diseases. All right, but you're going to say, how are you going to cook without oil? So many people are accustomed to cooking with oil. I say automate. You got to, when I say set it and forget it when it comes to your food prep. Get an Instant Pot, a rice cooker. I love my air fryer. I love my air fryer. You can get it crispy. You can get it crispy, get perfect home fries, a frozen broccoli right from the freezer to like crispy baked broccoli with no oil in 10 or 15 minutes. The air fryer, they have them at Walmart, they have them at Costco. You can get them online. All right, here, look at some, you got to get some staples, some foods that you love that you can keep in the house on hand, and some great foods that work well in other dishes and work good as leftovers. Rice and beans, oatmeal with some fruit in the morning. Okinawan potatoes are these purple potatoes, any kind of potato. I also love a gold Yukon potato. I love russets too even. Look at like a lentil soup type of thing, like a lentil, put some kind of whole grain in there, like a farro or something like that. It's delicious. Easy meals. Look at this delicious baked or roasted potato, quinoa or rice, even frozen hash browns. This is about convenience. If getting canned beans and frozen vegetables is going to help you with your food prep and help you streamline, get more efficient with your food prep, it's worth it. All right, one reason why many because you heard a lot of people, they tried being vegan, they tried being vegetarian, they didn't stick with it, they didn't feel great. It's not because you weren't getting enough protein. It's not because your body was craving yogurt or you needed chicken. You likely didn't eat enough calories. Because animal foods and high-fat foods are so calorie dense, when we transition over to more calorie dilute foods, we're not used to the sheer volume, seeing that much food on our plate. And a lot of us are coming from so much restriction, feeling restriction. We don't allow ourselves to fully indulge in these wholesome foods. And so for a lot of people, it's just a mental block. So low-fat vegan lifestyle, it's going to improve your relationship to food, improve your relationship to your body. It's a lifestyle, it's not a diet. You cannot feel restricted. I don't feel that's sustainable, and save time and money. All right, and I want to talk a little bit about lasting behavioral change. So the idea is our self-identity, our self-image is at the middle. We can try and just focus on changing the outcome. For instance, having a six-pack, losing 50 pounds. We can just focus on the process, running marathons, going to the gym. But ultimately, if we don't work on our self-image, in this example, being the person who values health, who values exercise, and from that self-image, exercising and participating in group activities and so on is a natural extension of that person's self-image. And ultimately, the outcome is a result of who we believe ourselves to be. Does that make sense? So that's one huge thing I believe that's missing in the debate around calories in, around weight loss. And one thing that I'm passionate about, a coach working with my clients. So let's look at stages of behavioral change. And again, no one can force anybody to change or to do anything. But I like to touch people kind of on the emotional level because I feel like there's emotional distress, or emotional discord or dissidence is a good motivator for behavioral change so we can improve. So this is just one example of different stages of behavioral change where you might be. So a lot of people in here raise their hand, they want to lose weight, they want to improve their relationship to their food, and they want to improve their health. So maybe you're still thinking about it, maybe you're prepared, maybe part of your preparation or taking action was coming here to hearing this talk. And I have a clipboard. I would love to get your name and email address so I can stay in touch with everyone and follow up, and y'all have my contact information as well. All right, just a couple personal testimonies or anecdotes here. This is a friend and client, my friend Akeem in New York. So he's a personal trainer, right? So he was a personal trainer, so he was in the ethos of protein supplements and animal proteins. Once he moved over to starch, low-fat, vegan lifestyle, quit drinking alcohol, eating less animal foods. Again, he doesn't label himself a vegan, but he's eating less animal food, eating more starch, not on the protein powders anymore, and more energy. Look at his size. He's still able to maintain his muscle mass. Again, he was muscular for years and stuff, but he's still able to maintain that physique. If anything, improve his physique. Okay, there's me. So I struggle so much with my body image issues, and I felt like it really limited me, really held me back. So I'm able to have more energy for being in service to others and living my purpose. Because I really believe that relationships are the cornerstone of good health and wellness. And I think that food is the idea that we should eat to live, not live to eat. I definitely think food should be delicious, and food should be things that we can share with our community, and it should be fun. But I don't think it should be such a novelty where it's entertainment, or we're so fixated on it, or it's an obsession that we can't be in relationship with others and in our service with our purpose. So, and I believe in regular exercise. Again, not using exercise as a way to punish ourselves. A lot of people that stress about overeating, it's this idea that I have to burn off those calories that I just ate. And so exercise becomes obligatory, and it becomes a punishment. So I believe exercise is a part of a healthy self-image and mental health, and also balancing things like hormones and stress, things that also are huge factors in weight loss and unwanted weight gain. So why would we get coaching? Work on our self-image, get guidance. I mean, we can certainly do things on our own. The information is out there, but it's nice to have guidance and accountability. Right? We know what happens if we're late on our rent check, right? We know what happens if we're late to work. We know what happens if we're late on a credit card bill. But what happens if we are eating foods that we had committed to not eat for ourselves? Or what happens if we don't show up to an exercise regimen or routine that we had committed to? Right? And what's more important, on one level, what's more important? So that's a great thing about coaching is you can enroll other people to help hold you accountable. It's a bigger commitment to yourself and a group engagement. Because I feel like personal development, we're not meant to go through it alone, and when we have relationships with others around personal development, I think it really strengthens everyone's efforts. So my online group coaching program, anyone can do it. It's online. It's videos, it's articles, it's at-home homework that you can do, like self-reflective type exercises where you're taking inventory of your thoughts, your behaviors, as well as your goals and where you want to go. It's about a 3 to 5 hour a week commitment, and I'm going to help you transition to a low-fat, plant-based lifestyle, reprogram your self-image, create some goals, and adopt new lifestyle habits around stress management, around self-esteem, and around food prep and movement and exercise. So that's it. Thank you all so much for having me.
I'd just like to say, if there are any of you that are under 70, do this now. Because as you get older, it gets tougher and tougher. So do it now while you're younger.
Tougher because you acquire your taste. It's not as
The
easy.
body doesn't respond when you're 80 like it did when it was 70.
Okay.
So, I remember the old food pyramid that back in the 70s they taught us in school was carb-based. So they had it right at that point? Do you remember that?
I do.
You're probably younger, but-
I do. But I remember, you know, a big part of that was the meat and dairy.
Yeah, it was a lot of
The whole
carbs.
base was
Yeah,
carbs,
they
right.
tried to change it, but that sounds like they were on the right track with that.
Definitely, but I think, but I remember the picture maybe was more of like the breads and pastas and maybe less of the rice and beans and the whole foods. So I think that's a crucial distinction though between whole carbs from whole foods versus
Cereal.
refined carbs and stuff. And I eat pasta and I eat bread. And so I advocate for those as health foods, but I think that there has to be a little bit more of a moderate sense of moderation around flour and flour products versus the whole grain.
For what the gentleman said, he's making us aware, we're headed over there, over 70. How is it you can help someone that's aging to be more understanding of what the benefits are that we go to the bar type of thing, while we're stuff?
Okay. Are you wanting to understand more kind of the science behind it, or more like the actual application in your life of foods to prepare?
Everybody said, I asked him, what is it? And he said, the body doesn't respond as quickly as you were when you were younger. So what does that mean for the older? We have to see more cognizant of it. Imitating or deciding?
I think so. I mean, again, certainly there's people living well into their hundreds eating the standard American diet. So to say that it's, you know, that there is exceptions to the rule, but I think as a general rule, you add a decade of eating all those chemical stressors in animal foods, for example. So yeah, again, just the sooner the better. My understanding is the bacteria, the environments of our gut can actually shift pretty quickly. And I think that humans are quite resilient, you know, when it comes to what we're able to recover from. But I do think that maybe what you're speaking to, that just another 10 years of these aggravations against your body. So, but I wouldn't let that discourage you or deter you from trying to start now.
Oh, no. I keep that in mind.
Exactly. And one idea is, and without it having to be an all or nothing, Dr. McDougall, and again, once you get on my email list, I can send you all the resources that I've gleaned from. But the idea is just to eat more starch. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. If you just simply increase the amount of whole starches in your day, make the rice a bigger portion of your food, kind of thing. Even just eating more whole grain bread, that kind of thing, you're going to crowd out the other foods. And so slowly you can start to see the benefits. You can have more of a gradual transition to being primarily starch-based.
In those areas or countries that are being recognized under the program, that are living into their hundreds,
Yes.
it's more like a plant-based art.
Yes, it is. They have a lot of different factors other than food, but when it comes to diet, I think it's only the Seventh-day Adventists that are totally vegan or plant-based. But the Okinawans and the ones in, I forgot where it is, in Greece, Sardinia, it's over 90% of their calories are coming from whole plant foods.
We got Little Linda, right, in California.
Exactly. So again, it's not as strict, and that's my understanding as well, as it's not so much what they say is what you eat on special occasions and holidays, it's what we're eating day to day. So again, if we're 85% of the time eating a whole food plant-based diet, and then we occasionally indulge in oil-laden cakes, or it's more about our lifestyle.
Curious the avocado. Seems like you're giving us some caution about the avocado.
Yes.
So, what do you personally do with avocado? Do you eat at all, or how much do you?
That's a good question. So yeah, I think of like a quarter of an avocado as a serving for myself, and I still have a little. I've started at various times tracking my calories through those chronometers, the apps that they have on the phone that make it quite easy. And I recommend it for people to bring. This brings a whole new level of awareness of what you're eating, but it's great to see at the end of the day the macronutrient breakdown, to see what percentage of my calories came from fat, protein, and carbohydrates. So that could be something that you could see to yourself if you eat a whole avocado in addition to what other moderate to high fat foods you're going to eat. But for example, a serving of nuts is like 15 nuts. And one reference is when you have to crack the nut yourself, like when it comes in more of its whole form, you're not going to eat as many because of the work it takes. But when it's nut butter, for example, it's already been shelled, and now it's ground up. It's so much easier to consume so much more. And with avocado, for example, like guacamole, it's, for me, easy to, especially with chips, and you got the oil on the chip, right? So the actual corn or potato in the chip is negligible relative to the oil, because we're talking about calorie density. So all that oil on the chip, now it's dipping into hummus or it's dipping into guacamole. And on each, basically what people put on 1 or 2 chips is a serving. So it's about, I don't know if that helps with keeping that in perspective. In moderation, exactly, especially because for those of us that are interested in maximizing our weight loss efforts. We're also thinking about insulin sensitivity. We have previous issues with regulating blood sugars. We want to think about, again, the overall amount of fat that we're eating in a day, because that's going to affect our body's ability to regulate our blood sugars.
What app are you using to?
I think I just use the MyFitnessPal. They have a free version and a premium version, but I find it pretty straightforward. Other than breast milk? That's a great question. I would like to look into that and get back to you. Can I pass around my clipboard and have everybody put their name on there? Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Are there 1 or 2 books that you would recommend?
Yes. So I would definitely recommend The Starch Solution by Dr. John McDougall. Another great book. Are you looking for like on the health and science end of the spectrum here?
So maybe a little bit of science, but just
Practical. A Proteinaholic is really good. Proteinaholic is really good, and I think Dr. Neil Barnard just came out. He had one called the Cheese Trap. So he talks about the addictive natures of fat and the casomorphine, some of these proteins in cheese that are highly addictive.
Who was on?
So and then he has one called the Vegan Jumpstart Kit. So Dr. Neil Barnard.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I don't do honey as a vegan. I don't eat honey. But I use maple syrup and I use agave and I use other forms of like coconut palm sugar or even just regular cane sugar. I never buy the white stuff, the Domino sugar, I never buy that. But as a rule, it's basically not as much as I want, but I use it to sweeten foods. For instance, putting maple syrup on oatmeal, maple syrup on yams. Anything I need to do to enhance and make it more delicious, I'm going to do that. And that's a good thing when you track your calories to see the difference between, because think about it, I know I talked about calories in, calories out, but according to that model, if we eat just 10% more calories every day than we're burning, that adds up to a pound every year. Right? And we're looking at how negligible 10 calories is. That's 1/10 of a banana, right? So again, that's I think a great thing. You can look at, kind of come up with what your guidelines for calories are and see quarter cup of maple syrup versus eighth a cup, to weigh, again, focusing on the whole foods and not trying to rely too much on the refined sweeteners, but still using them. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay.
You mentioned the chemical stressors regarding meat and animal foods, so there's also chemical stressors in vegetables, the fruits, the sprays, the Roundup, all the other stuff. We got a ton of GMOs on this island, all the Roundup ready.
Right, but what are the animals that we're eating? They're eating those.
Yeah, but I mean, regarding in your
Yes.
you stress that they're trying to get some things like organic food, like especially the Dirty Dozen or strawberries.
Got you. Yes. So I mean, I think organic and actually even veganic, because the organic agriculture industry is using poop from the animal factory farming industry. So I believe we need to move towards veganic, which is plant-based fertilizers. We don't need to support any animal agriculture industries. But I do think that that's a very necessary conversation around food miles, because I could be vegan, but yet I'm buying potatoes or fruits from Guatemala or Ecuador and versus local ulu or things like that. So I think that we can all make a better effort to source our food locally. But when it comes to, I think, the emotional stress that so many of us are at with not losing to lose weight or our struggle with our body, I feel like that maybe it takes more precedent for people to have convenience. For instance, the beans I'm buying at Costco are not organic, they're non-GMO. So that's one thing that I've sacrificed. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, about the turkey, there
Mm-hmm.
are some things that I still do with avocados, and that, because of the thicker skin, I don't feel like it's essential to get that organic. But strawberries and
Blueberries.
they gotta be organic.
Got you. Okay.
The thin skin.
Definitely. Yeah. So what was your name again?
Maryland.
Marilyn was referencing the Dirty Dozen. So the idea that there's these top 12 foods, and I don't know them offhand, but I can certainly link to that when I get you on my email. But fruits and vegetables that don't have any coating, are way more susceptible to the residues of the chemical pesticides.
Did I hear you say you don't use honey?
I personally no. It's not vegan. So the bees are not there for us to create commodities for humans, in my belief. Right. I like stevia. I like the stevia sweetened sodas. So again, I like stevia, and again, I like refined sugar. I feel like it's very hard for people to go without sugar and sweets, and especially refined sugar on occasion. And one thing I love about this lifestyle is my ability to indulge in the refined sugars with a lot more discernment and moderation, and less of the guilt that I had before because of my body's ability to regulate the sugars, I feel.
What about maple syrup?
I love the maple syrup, yes. Mm-hmm.
What about lily syrup?
I haven't used, but not specifically, but again, I think I personally enjoy that in moderation.